Unafraid Show. It's your boy George Reister in the building. Thank you guys for your time, for your energy. Appreciate you guys supporting Unafraid Show and all the stuff you do. Make sure you visit unafraidshow.com. We always have a lot of great articles up. The Big 10 Power rankings are up. The Big 12 Power rankings are up if you're into that sort of thing. But right now, we are going to go over the Pac-12 Power rankings for Week 7, the Heisman Trophy odds, which include some Pac-12 players, and Angel Martinez. We're going to talk about a lawsuit that is so ridiculous because everybody's out here in the world claiming racism, claiming sexism, claiming, me too, him too, everybody, right? So we're going to talk about that, break that down. But first, I want to get into the Pac-12 Power Rankings. Make sure you send all your comments, your grievances, whatever, to I'm Mad. I-M-M-A-D. I'm Mad at unafraidshow.com. Pac-12 Power Rankings. First team up. The number 12 spot. We all know who's number 12. Oregon State is fighting tooth and nail to get back into the 12 spot. And they may move back there. They may move back to to 12, but for right now, number 12, UCLA. They put up a great fight against Washington. A great fight. 24-31, and they actually would have had a chance to win the game. I was there. I am not impressed with Washington with the way they played. Maybe they were looking forward to Oregon. I don't know. But what I do know is that that's not a national championship caliber effort that they put up against UCLA. And if they play like that against Oregon this week, they're going to get their ass kicked, dude. I'm just letting you know that right now. Number 11 in the Pac-12 Power Rankings, you got Oregon State. This seems bad. Seems really, really bad. But they did put up 37 points against Washington State, which gave me pause against Washington State because the score was only like 28-24 at halftime. So how the hell do you give up 24 points and a half to Oregon State? I do not know. Number 10, Cal. Listen, Cal started out like gangbusters. They started out 3-0. Everybody was super excited about them. And then they just haven't been able to figure out their quarterback position, them throwing the football. Cal's having all type of trouble. They have a running back playing quarterback. That never works out. I know McElwain, I think he threw for over 300 yards, but he threw 3 picks, people. Like, he threw 3 picks. He threw for 315 yards on 41 attempts, 3 interceptions, no touchdown passes, and then he proceeded to run for another 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Listen, the kid is crazy athletic. I think he gives your team a chance to win, but this is the same thing that Jalen Hurts went through at Alabama is going through right now. Tua Tagovailoa, who's a good passer, came in. You have kid Kelly Bryant at Clemson, why he transferred. Trevor Lawrence came in, throwing the football. If you are a quarterback, you have to be able to throw the ball, and Cal cannot do that at this point in time without throwing it away. So that's why Cal has fallen all the way down from like the 4 spot all the way down to the 10 spot. Number 9, Arizona. They're 3-3. They got a chance. Like, Arizona has got a shot. They do. And they're 3-3 right now. They just beat Cal, which was an important win. Like, you can't lose to Cal and then expect to think that you're going to win the Pac-12. Like, you just can't. Like, you just can't think that you're going to win the Pac-12 South if you are going to lose a game to Cal. Even though I believe, and it is showing that Cal is a much improved football team. You still can't lose that football game if you want to compete in the South. And right now, Arizona's in the 9 spot. Arizona State coming into 8. I've mixed emotions about this 3-3 Herm Edwards team. They just lost to Colorado. And I thought that would be a game that Arizona State would win because I am not a believer in Colorado yet. I mean, I know a lot of people do. I know a lot of people have good things to say about Colorado, but they haven't played anybody who's worth anything until last week when they played against Arizona State, who beat Michigan State. But then Michigan State lost to Northwestern, so there's that. And Manny Wilkins is not being quite as explosive offensively as I thought he was. Him and N'Keal Harry, they barely have like 400 yards on the season. Like this is not this is not the Arizona offense that you thought that you were going to see. Like we expected more explosiveness, which we're not seeing. A lot more points scored. And that brings pause and concern if you are an Arizona State fan. Tomorrow, though, along with the Pac-12 rankings coming out today, we will have a post on unafraidshow.com specifically about all the things that are going on in the conference. Like all the stats, all the important information that you need to know about the Pac-12. Because it is completely underserved. ESPN and Fox and everybody else, they will lead you to believe that the SEC is the greatest thing that ever happened. And a lot of that has to do with hype. Because their slogan is, it just matters more. And it's got to matter more in the Pac-12 if the Pac-12 wants to get that recognition. So you got Arizona State, who is, in terms of percentage of possessions that result in a touchdown, they are fourth in the conference behind Washington State, Oregon, Colorado, and then there's ASU. I mean, that's not bad. Like, they're scoring, but they're not explosive at all. Like, they are not. And then on defense, their defense is just letting them down. Like, okay, there is a metric and there's a stat that talks about how many first downs that your opponents get on average. Cal is the best in the conference, only allowing 1.06 first downs per possession. That means that they're usually only allowing one first down and then you got to punt. Arizona State is allowing 2 first downs. Do you realize that flips the field at least 20 yards and sometimes more? That means teams are scoring on you and they are having long extended drives. That is not a recipe for success. You guys are watching the Unafraid Show. George Reister here. Swipe up, share the feed, tell a friend about the Unafraid Show, and hit the little hearts, likes, all of that. You know, we'll take those as well. So that's why Arizona State is sitting at the 8th spot. Stanford has fallen all the way down to number 7. They were number 1 for the first 5 weeks of the season. And then they snuck by Oregon. They got lucky and got 2 huge fumbles at awkward times. Won the Oregon game. Then they come back and get absolutely boat raced by Notre Dame in the second half. KJ Costello's not looking great at quarterback. I said he was the best player on Stanford's team and that they needed to unleash him, and that's not happening. And he hasn't shown that he can do that. Didn't play well last week versus Utah either. So, they lost 40-21 against Utah. Utah's a tough play. Well, and it was at Stanford. It's not like they were playing at Rice Eccles. They were playing in Stanford and got beat like this. It was bad. Costello threw for 381 yards, but only 1 touchdown, threw a couple picks. It just wasn't there was no domination running the ball. They got pushed around again. This Stanford team, I don't know what has happened to their character. I don't know what has happened to their identity. I don't know what has happened to their swagger, their moxie. But this Stanford team does not look good right now. They are trending in the wrong direction. That's why they've fallen all the way down to number 7. Because they had to fall at 4-2. They had to fall behind Utah, right? They had to. Utah dominated them. And then they just got tore up by Notre Dame, even though I believe Notre Dame's the second best team in the country. Utah coming in at number 6 at 2-3. Just beat up on Stanford. Played a good game. The only problem with Utah is they can't score, or at least I thought they couldn't, till they put up 40 points on Stanford. And they did the most important thing that any team has done against Stanford. They figured out how to stop Stanford from throwing that jump ball. You know that jump ball that they throw to Ortega-Whiteside or the tight ends in the corner of the end zone where they just post up. They found a way to stop it. They actually picked it off and ran it back for a touchdown. Like, we've never seen anybody do that. Fred said Stanford misses McCaffrey. Listen, Stanford misses McCaffrey. They miss Luck. They miss all the players that got drafted on defense. They miss Stanley Wilson. They miss everybody right now. This Stanford team is just, not the deal right now. Trending completely in the wrong direction. So we went over Utah, their offense. I mean, like, their running back Moss is good. He ran for 160 yards against Stanford. But this is the first time. I mean, I detailed it last week in the Unafraid show. They haven't been able to score over like 30 points all game, over 28 points. Then they put up a 40 spot on Stanford. I'm confused. Next team up in the Pac-12 Power rankings, Washington State is at number 5. There is no team in the country that I'm happier for about their success than the Cougars, except for the Oregon Ducks. Because it would have been easy for Washington State to mail the season in after Tyler Helinski's suicide. They didn't have a quarterback. They didn't know who Gardner Minshew was. They didn't know anything about it. And they've come out and they've played hard, they fought hard, and they've won. Like, this is extremely impressive by by Washington State. But they are on a bye this week. And Mike Leach knows, as well as this season has gone, at them sitting at 5-1 right now, as well as this season has gone, it can all go downhill from here because they still have Stanford, Oregon, and Washington left on the schedule. That's like murderer's row for anybody. Regardless of what conference you're in, anybody. That is a rough row to hoe. So they better get it together. Number 4 in the Pac-12 Power rankings, USC. USC moved up after a bye. They got the fortunate thing that they didn't have to play. But I'll tell you this game against Colorado is their most important game of the entire season. Because this is a pivotal point. Because they either have a chance to rally together like they did when Sam Darnold did 2 years ago when they made their Rose Bowl run. They have a chance to rally and finish the season 10-2. They have a chance to do that. Or if they don't, they'll be sitting at 3-3. The Clay Helton Boo Birds will be out in full force, in full effect. And that won't be good for the Trojans. Number 3, Colorado. I don't know how Cinderella keeps her glass slipper on. Dude, what is up with Colorado? Why won't they lose? Dude, they are like the bad guy in a scary movie who just won't die. Like, you think he's dead. You think you killed him. Nope. Colorado will not fall right now. They beat Arizona State 28-21 last week. And they're ranked 3rd in the conference in that stat I talked about a little bit ago in possessions that end in touchdowns. And their defense is super stingy as well. Like, so we'll see what they're talking about as they head to the Coliseum against the Trojans. Because this is the biggest game for Colorado and the biggest game for USC. We talked about why it was the biggest game for USC. But for Colorado, this is a mentality game. This is a game to where they're either going to say, you know what? We're big, we're bad, we're going to win the Pac-12 South. Or we're going to curl up and let USC's helmets and stars roll over us. This is a gut check time for Colorado. Number 2, same 2 teams, number 2 and number 1 last week. They actually dueled this week. Oregon and Washington hucked the Fuskies, even though they're number 1 in the Pac-12 Power rankings. I'm just going to say it. Because Washington, they continue to win football games. But in all, like, honesty and judgment, I'm extremely concerned about this team, how they fared against UCLA. It bodes well for the Ducks because UCLA, who had not been able to run the ball all year, ran the ball for 8 yards to carry in the first half and finished at somewhere around 6 yards to carry against Washington, running for almost like 200 and some yards. That's too many. That's too many. And Jake Browning I was always trying to figure out who Jake Browning is. He's the Alex Smith of college football. Not pro Alex Smith. He's just that type of comparison. Game manager, not going to really do anything special. He'll wiggle out on some scrambles every now and then, get some extra first downs. But he's not Justin Herbert. He's not Will Grier. He's not any of these top quarterbacks. Like, he's just not. So that's where he is. And Oregon sitting at the 2 spot. If anybody knows what's going to happen in this Washington-Oregon game, Oregon is pissed off. They are pissed off. They are mad because of what happened 2 years ago when Jake Browning pointed in the face when Oregon was wearing their throwback blue and yellow uniforms. Everybody's seen the picture. Oregon's pissed off about it. Washington is cruising. You know, we're just handling our business. We're doing our thing. And Oregon is pissed off. Like, this is a revenge game. This is one of those games to where you could be pissed off all you want to. If the teams weren't evenly matched, then Washington would destroy them. Or Oregon would destroy them if the teams weren't evenly matched, despite how mad you can be. Because Washington was mad for 12 years and lost 12 years straight. But Oregon has the level of talent and competition and players to be able to not only compete, but beat this or a Washington team. It is going to be berserk at 12:30. I will not be doing anything else on Saturday besides watching that game when that game is on. I'm all in on that. Those are the Pac-12 Power Rankings right now. They will be up on unafraidshow.com in a few hours. Hope you guys enjoy. And I want to talk about the Heisman Trophy, but we will talk about that tomorrow. And we will talk a little bit tomorrow about finishing up on this Angel Hernandez story. So Angel Hernandez is suing the MLB over racial discrimination. He's been an umpire for a baseball umpire for a number of years. And he was saying that MLB, that Major League Baseball was discriminating against him because he's Latino, and by declining to name him crew chief. This is the same man who in Game 3 on Monday night of the American League Division Series blew 3 calls that got overturned. 3. But you think you're discriminated against because you're not the crew chief? Slow down, homeboy, because there are Pedro Martinez, who is Latino, and multiple other Latino players, black players, white players who regularly say you are the worst umpire in all of baseball. Maybe that's why you're not the crew chief. I'm a person who likes to, like, you can't claim racism about everything. You can't. Sometimes things that people call racist are not. They're just, you suckest. Like, you're not good enough, or there was some objective reason, and then you wanted to point to racism. I'm not buying it, Angel Hernandez, in any way, shape, form, or fashion. It would be different if every player who played against him, he describes himself as an exemplary umpire. But all the players and the metrics overturn calls say that he is an average or below average umpire. I mean, really, think about that. He blew a call in game 2 as well against Didi Gregorius on a bunt. I mean, Angel Hernandez called him safe. I mean, come on, man. I mean, it's insane. It's insane to cry racism when you're bad. You just can't do it, and I'm not buying it, bro. I'm not buying it. I'm not giving in to it at all. Thank you guys for joining the Unafraid Show. I appreciate your time. Appreciate your energy. Make sure that you check out unafraidshow.com. Tell a friend about the Unafraid Show. And look out for the Pac-12 Power Rankings, which will be out in a couple hours up on the site. Peace out. Catch you guys tomorrow. Catch you guys tomorrow.